Be sure and tell them Large Marge sent ya.
In the 90s, we were just teeny tykes. We liked our movies and our bikes. We wanted to be DJs, but we were just teeny gals. So we went off to college and we remained as pals. 20 years later, we're still watching flicks and we're bringing you the favorite bit by bit. Sweetie and Sweetie are here to say it's the Large Marge Santa's podcast. Hey,
Guys, welcome to the Large Marge Santa's podcast, your favorite podcast where two sweetie sisters talk about their favorite flicks from childhood or just ones that they saw. I'm Sweetie with a Y.
And I'm Sweetie with an IE.
And tonight we did a movie you may or may not have heard of. You probably saw it on television when you were little, that it was playing late at night, and it was probably a couple of the first times you saw boobs on TV. The movie is Showgirls.
So this podcast, we talk about in the beginning how movies shaped our childhood. In some ways, let's not discount movies like this for shaping our childhood, right? Because this was, I believe, so this movie came out in 1995. Sort of the movie everybody talked about. And eventually it became sort of like, because it was the worst movie kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. But I think when we were children and young, it was like the, the movie, the band movie, movie like, banned books kind of a deal, like a band movie that everyone was talking about.
To see it.
Yeah, exactly.
See what the fuss was
and
about.
of the 90s, this was like that movie for sure. Mm-hmm. And there's been ones like through the decades, I want to say, what's that movie, like 9.5 Weeks, I feel like I want to say. It's like this movie from the 80s that was kind of like that. Let's just say they always run the gamut of like very sexual, right? So Showgirls, clearly.
Ding, ding.
Ding, ding. Very sexual movie, talking about Vegas, talking about strippers, et cetera, et cetera. But so this stands out as like the 90s movie that would shape your frame of reference in terms of like, okay, crazy movies that I shouldn't see but want to see because everyone's talking about it, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So I've never seen this movie. I have seen scenes now that I've seen it and realized what those scenes were, glance them occasionally on TV, probably like in the last couple years, not at all when I was little. Mm-hmm. When did you first see this film?
When did I not? So definitely there was a period of my life, I feel like we've talked about this before on the podcast, but when I would like be like, we had this finished basement, which I would spend like 80% of my time in.
It was a cool finished basement, guys. Here was the setup. Ready?
Dope.
It was like, a gross basement with like cement floors and like these poles everywhere. And we moved in. And then eventually, I don't even remember when it got finished. I don't know. When was that?
It was after we put on the Beauty and the Beast play, but
right.
Before
late elementary school for me, I want to say. So our parents like cut it in half. And so there's still like a gross part of the basement. Then they carpeted it, covered up the poles with like wood boards. So you like couldn't see them. They're just kind of like, look nice, and put in like the foam ceiling tiles and whatever. And put a couch down there, entertainment center. We had a treadmill. Mom's sewing machine was down there, the computer. And then at one point, even our older sister lived down there. It was her like bedroom, remember?
Her hippie den.
Yeah, her hippie den with like tapestries on the wall and like posters of Bob Marley and like incense burning and like a little thing. So that was our jam, and where we went to do illicit things like drink wine coolers with our friends and watch dirty movies, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And so, so when it would be like late, and something to know about our dad is that he would like fall asleep in front of the TV at like 8 p.m. and then not go to bed until like midnight, when he would like rouse himself and be like, oh, I got to go to bed. So there'd just be like a period of time, and like, not to say that our parents were like watching us every second, but I just feel like when Dad was sleeping, I was like, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Right. I mean, we could have anyway, but it was just that extra level we needed to be like, yes, time to go watch Skinamax in the basement.
So I would be like, oh, Skinamax. And then like the year that we had Cinemax, I'd be like, ooh, softcore porn. Mm-hmm. And then they'd have like real sex on like HBO, so we watched that. And then this would always be playing, I feel like, on I thought was like a premium channel like HBO, but now thinking back, it may have just been like regular TV. Okay. And I'll tell you the confusion here is that when you see this movie on TV, it is 100%, 105% different movie than when you see it unedited. But there are so many scenes that just like straight up are not in there. You do not realize that people are naked for 79% of the movie. And it's just like so hardcore. And you're like, this isn't more hardcore than like softcore porn on Skinamax. Like this is like medium porn. So
it carried that rating NC-17, which meant, okay, so the way ratings works, right, is like our movies, you can go with an adult. If you're under 18, like your parents go with you, totally fine, no matter what age you are, right? NC-17 movies means no one is admitted unless you're over 17. Why they make it 17 years old and not 18, I have no idea. But again, that movie carried that rating and again pushed it to this like, whoa, like this is not just an R movie, man. This is like NC-17. And I always thought NC-17 was basically the line between R movies and pornography, right? Like the level of what they were allowed to do like sexually and like, but yeah, that really made it stand out to me. And I read in the trivia that the director was the first time, usually if you got an NC-17 rating, it was after the movie was already made. So the ratings people would watch it and be like, okay, no, this is like above R. But he knew going in, it was the first movie to like be going into directing it. He's like, this is an NC-17 movie. Like he knew he wanted to do all this sort of like crazy, like off the wall sexual shit to make it that rating, which is kind of interesting.
Good marketing scheme. Yeah, totally. I suppose it worked. But yeah, the movie's famous because it's terrible and because it stars Elizabeth Berkley, who, if you don't know, was Jesse Spano on Saved by the Bell. This was supposed to be her like entrance into film, and like she was supposed to have like this like great career or whatever, but it like completely backfired and it fucked her career over. Basically. Yeah, and now she hasn't been in anything at all.
Yeah.
Was she in like that Jimmy Fallon Saved by the Bell reunion?
Yeah, no? She was, and they made like a joke about it. Oh, yeah. But and she was in First Wives Club, but when was that?
Oh, yeah.
97?
Right around the time.
Yeah, right around the time.
Right around this time where she was just like an up and coming.
Yeah. But like, okay, so I honestly thought it was better than it was gonna be.
96 was First Wives Club.
Yeah, this was 95. So I honestly like thought it wasn't as terrible as like I've heard. Certainly, you know, I could like see what they were trying to do by trying to create this sort of like looking at the underbelly of like these, you know, strippers and workers and that, and people just trying to get like famous and get like a leg up and stuff like that. I do think that she was the one who tanked the film though, because I think that's what makes it so awful, sadly. And it's almost like she's just not that great of an actress. She's actually like a pretty good dancer. I'll say like the dancing in this movie is really intense and honestly not bad. Like, I mean, it's bad and the choreography is like just of a certain genre and they're just trying to be like really like, whoa, like off the cuff and doing like kind of cool modern like contemporary kind of stuff, but that part failed. But in like general, like Elizabeth Berkley did some like serious freaking dancing in here. Her acting skills are terrible. I mean, it's literally one of the worst things I've ever seen. And it's not like she was a great actress in Saved by the Bell though. It's not like, you know, she wasn't great. I don't know why she was really cast in this. Was she the only person willing to do the stuff? I'm assuming
maybe, and like the dance. I don't know. They needed someone who could
dance and
like
wanted
that
to do the
and
stuff.
wanted to do the stuff. So maybe the list was dwindled. I don't know, but yeah. I mean, she's just awful.
She's
like,
just terrible, and it's just so reactive. And like, I don't know what the direction was to her, and literally like every line she had, but it was just like so intense and over the top.
You're angry.
Yeah, like just so over the top that it just was just a laughable character. Honestly, everyone else was really pretty good. Like I saw Gina Gershon is like kind of awesome in this. Like I love her character. Like I think she's badass. And like Kyle MacLachlan honestly wasn't bad. The friend is great. Molly. Like she was super. All the strippers are actually like pretty great. It's just Elizabeth Berkley just makes this like totally tank, and that just sucks because you know.
It's hard, I guess, to be a character who like has no backstory, and so like what are like, you know, like she's a mystery to us until the very end of like who she is. And I don't know if she like had a like conflict with that or like, but she should know like who her character was. So I don't know. It was just very, she's
bizarre. Just so off-putting, but everyone in the movie is like obsessed with her, and that's what doesn't make sense. Like, why? Like the beginning scene where the friend, you know, she finds this friend Molly who ends up like asking her to live with her. She's terrible to her, like in 25 different ways. And then Molly's like, "Oh, want to come live with me?" Like that doesn't make any sense at all. First of all, she's terrible. She's terrible to all the men, and they all want to like fuck her, which is like fine. Like she is pretty, I guess. And like every guy who she just like it just turns away, is just so mean to, it just keeps chasing her around. The Gina Gershon character just like, I just like you. Like why? Why?
No,
you know?
I don't know. Yeah,
she's just not like, I mean, I hate that like likable kind of term, but she wasn't even likable in the sort of tragic hero kind of way. You know,
she just seems to be a terrible person.
It was not redeeming.
Interesting.
No redeeming.
We'll say that I think they were also trying to do like a modern take on All About Eve, which Sweet and I saw in the movie theater. And I remember when I saw that movie for the first time, I was like, oh, now I think I get Showgirls, and like it all suddenly kind of made sense to me because it's the same kind of thing where it's like this young up and comer is like coming to steal your spotlight, and then like what happens when like everyone loves them instead of you, and like your old news, but then you find out the new person's full of shit and is just like a con artist or something. So it's very similar in that way. But anyway, so
I would have loved to see that movie, like a Vegas spin on that movie.
Well, I think that's what this was.
Right. If they were trying to do that, like not successful, right? Because I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So Elizabeth Berkley, Gina Gershon, Kyle MacLachlan with this like weird mushroom bowl cut hybrid with like a swoop bang. I have no idea what is happening. It's hilarious.
Okay, so I read he like sat through the what do you call it when they like first show it, screening or whatever, and was just like from the first scene he's like, wow, this is like a terrible movie, and then the next scene he's like, maybe it gets better. He's like, no, this is worse. And I'm like, wait a minute. Weren't you filming the scene in the pool where she has sex with you and is like flailing around like a dead fish? I don't understand. Like, what did he not remember filming the scenes?
Well, I don't know.
Do you not understand because it's so piecemeal?
I mean, you're filming everything
stuff?
Completely out of order, and it's just like you have one interpretation of the movie. I guess he's not in that many scenes when you think about it. So
like
you can't see like the big picture. But
was he not acting with like? I mean, he has the most like intense sex scenes with Elizabeth Berkley. So I'm like, were you not? He said he had a body double, but I'm pretty sure he was like, it was his lap. Like it was him in the pool, wasn't it?
Sure, it was you, Kyle. You're full of shit. And then the guy from the Goonies pops up.
Honestly, my favorite character. I mean, he had the best arc.
What a character arc!
He could have a great character arc. Oh my god!
Sexual harasser, abuser, strip club owner.
Oh god, the owner of the cheetah. He's up there for me. He might be Sweetie Club. I don't know. It's close. Top.
He and then someone else. I feel like I'm missing.
We found that guy from Ellen who you pointed out, the redhead kind of always plays kind of a gay character.
Hilarious.
And then one of the bouncers was in Coming to America, the security sidekick person.
Yep, and her little original love interest is the guy in Speed when Keanu Reeves jumps in his car.
That's who that was.
And he has like the cell phone. Yeah.
Okay, good one.
So yeah, just some 90s characters.
So the director is Paul Verhoeven. Mm-hmm. He's a hoe. And he directed RoboCop, Total Recall, and Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
So
another Snatch movie. He likes just showing the snatches. Yeah. It's just like, here's a vagina. Oh, did you want to see it? No? Okay. Well, here it is anyways.
And again, I would love, this is a movie that if you're talking about the role of sex workers or people who are strippers in Vegas, I think would benefit from a female director and like losing that male gaze, because I think that was a huge part of why this movie is like just so terrible. Because just the lengths that they go to talk about boobs and nipples and the way the women interact with each other and are constantly trying to like make out with each other and flirt. is from a woman's
Very
perspective
strange.
completely unrealistic and like just total
It's
trash.
just like tit soup every 5 seconds. Like,
Right. I mean, it's just like it. I mean, this movie is. I mean, basically like one giant strip club, but trying to be like, but it's art. You know, like
is
no,
it?
like I just don't think it is.
But would you want to see Goddess?
And I don't understand like how that was like a show. Okay, we all know what Showgirls are in terms of like basically they're like Rockettes of Vegas, right? They wear big headpieces and like feathers everywhere, but
like,
it's not
skimpy
titties.
clothing. Sometimes, I mean, I feel like there are shows like that, and like a couple
That
years
show was
back,
tit soup. That was not Goddess. I don't know.
there are. I'm pretty sure there's shows like this in Vegas, and so
That
couple
are
years,
like that people like women, like old women and men who go to Vegas be like, let's gamble, honey.
I mean, I
You're
don't
gonna
know.
want to go to tit soup.
I don't know. I don't know who the audience is, but like Holly Madison was in that show Peep Show for like a couple years in Vegas, and that was a similar kind of thing where like it was just like dancing and singing, but then also topless. Like,
But I feel like that's why the showgirl kind of thing is a borderline thing. Like it's a little bit for both because you have the glamour and you have the kicks and the choreography maybe for the women, and then the men are like, okay, like hot bodies, maybe a pasty or two if you're doing that.
who's
like,
to say? I've never seen a Vegas showgirl show, so maybe that is like tit soup. I don't know, but this was interesting. So, anyways, so a lot to get into here, a lot to talk about. Let's not delay it.
Good luck with this plot. It's time for the sweetie synopsis.
Yeah, sweeties.
Okay, I have a couple quotes because it's pretty quotable.
Nice.
She looks better than a 10-inch dick, and you know it.
Sweetie's favorite character, Henrietta.
Now or never. That's what Elvis said.
It's now or never.
You got to gamble if you're going to win. I'm going to win.
You didn't do the Versailles? Come on.
No.
That's the classic. That's the classic quote. Nomi Malone is hitchhiking in Colorado, I guess, because there's mountains. We're not sure. She gets in the car of some Elvis lookalike who's like, I'm going to Vegas. She pulls a knife on him when he's getting a little sassy. So we know where she stands, a.k.a. she's a psycho. So then they go to Vegas, and he's like, oh, my uncle works here. I'll get you a job. Like, here's $10 to use in the slot machines. I'll meet you back here. In no amount of time, he's just like, I'll meet you back here. And like, okay, whatever. So she's having a grand time doing slot machines. Realizes, she's like, oh, where's that guy? And then goes to find him. He's not there. She goes in the parking lot. His car's gone with her suitcase. So she's like, fuck. And she's like freaking out because that's all she has. And remember, this was before cell phones, before having, I don't know, debit cards or like I don't think she had a bank account, but still, she lost everything she had. She just lost all of the money she did have in a slot machine.
In some ways, like, that's kind of nice in a lot of ways if you think about it, because it's like, okay, it's nice to have all we have now. It's like, okay, even if you lost something, like, it would just be the end all for you. You'd have like a debit card or whatever.
But she's fucked.
But also you have like not like if nothing really to steal. Like, she's not necessarily carrying anything of like value with her. Mm-hmm. It's like now you have like all this shit that's like pretty valuable. It's kind of pain, but also helpful if somebody steals
But
you
your
get it back
suitcase.
really easy. Exactly.
Yeah. So she's freaking out. She's like fucking with the car, and then this woman runs up and she's like, hey, that's my car. And then they get into this like weird kind of tussle, and then
Again, every fight is like sexual, and it's just like, what are these women fighting for? Like, why would they be fighting? Wouldn't you be like, oh my God, like, there's no way.
Right.
I mean, Naomi's pretty unstable, but there's no way you wouldn't be like, man, like, some guy just like has my shit and ran off. Like, you wouldn't explain it.
Right.
Like, women just don't like go nuts.
yeah. And so then Nomi barfs for some reason. She's
Why
upset.
did they add that in? Why?
Why did they add in any of these things? So then things calm down. The woman is named Molly. She takes her to like get some food.
Literal saint.
Oh my God. And she like is asking her all these questions. She's like, where are you from? Where you been? And Nomi's just like, different places, and like gets mad
So
about
off-putting.
it and like almost gets
throwing
Yeah,
her French
throwing
fries,
her French
her
fries
free French
everywhere?
fries and her like big gulp soda.
Could be your last meal for a
Literally
while,
biggest
sweetie.
soda I've ever seen.
Like,
It was,
yeah,
like,
big
huge.
gulps.
It was a
Yeah.
big gulp.
Wow. So then Molly, as Sweetie said, is like, hey, why don't you live with me? What the fuck? Like, if somebody's like, can I have $1 on the street? I'm like, oh my God, okay, here, take this, get away from me. Like, I'm not like, oh my God, do you have somewhere to go?
Right.
And like that, I mean, and like you said, Molly's a saint. Like, great, good for her. But she lives in a trailer. She has one bed, a single, like a double bed, like twin bed, and is like, come live with me.
Right.
What? So then 6 weeks go by. So now Nomi and Molly are like best friends forever. They like love each other so much. I'm just unclear how that relationship happened.
Yeah.
You know, it just
she
took
makes
off.
dresses for her. And Molly is a seamstress of a show at the Stardust.
Apparently pays no money.
Yeah, no money at
to
all.
little money.
But she's a seamstress for this show called Goddess at the Stardust. Nomi works at this place called the Cheetah. Now, they don't tell you what the Cheetah is. Now, I'm assuming that like you should get the drift because you know that Nomi's a dancer. But they don't explicitly say strip club, right? So they go, Molly's like, oh, like you should come to the show tonight. I forget like why she like gets
She's
her
just
there.
like, come see because Crystal had just started like headlining the show,
okay.
I think. So Molly was like, you're going to meet the new
right.
this woman.
Oh yeah. So Crystal Connors is like the new star of this Goddess show. So she's like, come see it. Wear that new dress I made for you. So she made her this like pink fringe dress. It's pretty cute. I'd wear it. Not gonna lie. And they show up, and she shows up. So she's like backstage at the Stardust and this, which is like a Showgirls show. Now it seems to me that all the shows that are actually in the casinos are a step up, obviously, from the strip clubs, right? So this is like what if you are a dancer, quote unquote, in Vegas, like that's where you want to be. Like all the dancers kind of start at strip clubs, but like that's your final goal, right?
To be in a Vegas show?
Yeah.
I guess. I mean, it's just really like real dancing. Like, I don't know if all strippers are real dancers. I don't think so.
Even
I
though
think
this
they
is
just
middle ground because it's kind of a titty show, as we said.
Kind of, but they're still doing like actual choreography, whereas stripping are just like, here's a pole. Like nobody's, unless you're, what's her face in Flashdance, you don't have like choreographed set pieces with like themes and things or whatever. So I think it's a little,
and I think a little bit more
higher
respectful and definitely like respectful nude dancing and whatever versus where I think everyone who's a stripper gets a bit branded that horror kind of a thing. Yeah. And it is because you're also doing lap dances, right? Like there's kind of a skeevy boss. I mean, there's a very like seedy side to the strip club.
Definitely. But Nomi meets Crystal, and it's like Sweetie continued to be confused throughout the movie of their relationship. I can't really tell you what went wrong. Like they met, and then Crystal like said something kind of bitchy, and then Nomi is just like very reactive and like spazzy and just like flipped out. So like from that point on, they hated, but were like interested in each other for some reason. I don't know why. I think Crystal like saw some of herself in Nomi, and that's what drew her to her, whatever. But she's kind of wants to make her life like a living hell. So Nomi tells Crystal that she's a dancer, and Crystal's like, where do you dance? And she's like, at the Cheetah. And Crystal's like, I don't know what kind of dancing you do, honey, but if it's at the Cheetah, it ain't dancing or whatever. So, so that's why Nomi's like pissed. Right. So she storms off, and then Molly's like, you can't freak out like that. This is my place of work. Like, yes, thank you, Molly. And like, really, you shouldn't do that anywhere, Nomi. Like, try to get your emotions in check, girl. So then they go out dancing. Nomi blows off her night at the strip club, and they go to the Crave Club instead. So they're having fun dancing. This bouncer, James, wants to dance with Nomi. He's like an actual dancer, allegedly. And they get dancing.
He went to Alvin Ailey.
Essentially, he tells Nomi that she can't dance, so she gets mad again, knees him in the balls, and then he bumps into another guy, and then it starts this like chain reaction of a fight.
I will say, okay, so you can obviously see that she has some dance skills. Mm-hmm. I mean, her stripping to me is honestly better than her actual like dance technique and talent. But what bothers me about her dancing is that she just has an intense face all of the time. 100% of the time, like, there's no other face. Yeah. every move she does is so dancing. It's like she's trying to kill you with her eyes and maybe her like hands with the jagged movement she does. Chops. And like she's in a club, so you should be like trying to like have a good time and kind of like feel and free, be a little bit more smooth and like fluid. I wouldn't say like fluid is at all like anything that she has. She's very like jagged, right? But yeah, so she meets the bouncer and then gets in like a little tussle and then goes to jail. I don't know why. I don't know what crime she committed. She literally needs someone in the balls, and then all these other guys got into a fight.
She started it.
Yeah.
Arrest that woman.
Right. And then you get arrested for starting a fight. I don't know.
It's bizarre. James feels bad and bails her out of jail. And then they start this like weird sort of relationship thing happening. I don't know. Nomi goes to work. Who should show up but Crystal Connors herself with Zach Carey, the creative director of the Goddess show at the Stardust. So Nomi's like freaked out because she's like, oh, I hate that bitch. And then
she does a hell of a striptease.
Does a hell of a striptease. Starts doing her rounds. Crystal wants Nomi to do a lap dance with both of them. And Nomi's like, no, we don't do that. No, woman. Okay, fine.
They're going to pay.
Men only, yeah. So Crystal offers to pay like $500 for her to give a lap dance to Zach and she'll watch. And her skeezy boss is like, sold. And then they go off to do that. Nomi proceeds to do a very sexual lap dance. Let's just call it what it is. Dry humping.
She takes her thong off, which I'm pretty sure is not regular protocol for lap dances. I think you keep that on.
She's like rubbing her snatch in his face.
And it's just like a crazy, she basically has sex with him over his pants.
She's just, they're just going at it.
And he finishes. And then Crystal Connors, he comes in his pants. Crystal Connors is like watching and she's kind of also, I don't know, it's sort of like a voyeur kind of a thing. I don't know.
It's interesting.
Very, very intense. It's nuts. It's probably one of the best scenes in the movie.
It's just it's awe-inspiring. Yeah. So then Nomi finds out there's an audition. There's an opening in the chorus line because Crystal sends this guy to like tell Nomi to audition. Nomi's pretty pumped. She shows up at the audition. She does pretty well. She's like this weird superpower where she just like watches dancing and then is like, and then like does it and then knows how to do it. So she's got some kind of natural talent there. So she does great in the audition. Gets near to the very end. The guy makes them like take off their shirts. Hello, it's a topless show. Need to see the weaponry.
I thought that was weird. Like I'm not. I felt like the women who were auditioning were very like, what?
Yeah, they were
like,
very uncomfortable.
Am I being sexually harassed? But like, the guy wasn't wrong saying like, we need to see your boobs. Like this show is about boobs. Like, did they not
really
know
like
what it
who
was
cares?
about?
Yeah, I don't know. So Nomi storms off when he asks her to put ice on her nipples. You got to have the hard nips, in the dancing. I just want to know, how do you dance that hard with tits flying around? Like, isn't that painful? Like, ow! Like, I can't imagine doing those moves. Like
muscular, maybe, but
ouch. But yeah, she storms off.
Longest scene ever about nipples, probably you'll ever seen in your whole life. I don't know.
It happened.
Wins an award in
we
itself.
Saw it. Yeah. She storms off, but then ends up getting the call anyways that she gets the part. So she's pumped. Goes to like her first day. She's going to be in the show that night. So she learns all the dances sort of and gets her costume and makeup and is just in the fucking show.
Yeah, they just basically threw her on stage. She like kind of half-ass knows the choreography. And what's crazy is that there's all these lifts in one scene and she's just literally being thrown from like one guy to the next and just going with it. And as Sweetie said, like we have recurring nightmares about being like, okay, you got to do this show and you have no idea what the choreography is, so you're just like on stage and that's basically what she was living through. It was terrible.
Terrifying, but she makes it through. She does a great job. She has a great time. Zach sends her flowers, which is the Kyle MacLachlan mushroom bowl cut hybrid thing. Swoop. He also has an earring, so it's just, the piece de resistance. So, then there's this like stupid side plot with this James guy, and that kind of like goes awry. And he's like, I want you to be in this dance. And then she has her period, so they can't have sex. I don't know. She
know what that was.
and then I don't know. He starts dating this other stripper, and she's pregnant. It's weird. They really could. That whole part could have just been done away with. There's no point in that part at all. I don't know, like to show us like what Nomi's life could have been like. She could be pregnant and doing a stupid show at the Crave Club or a Vegas showgirl. Like I don't know. It's very strange. So, okay, so we start meeting a couple characters. So the understudy of Crystal is this woman who's like very aggressive and is like starting fights with this other woman in the show. So one night, that other woman who has these like braids, it seems like cultural appropriation to me, but like, what do I know? That woman is weird. She has like 2 redhead children. Yeah. I'm like, what is this?
I don't know what was going on.
So she like throws some beads on the floor during the like disco number in Goddess, and the bitchy woman's partner slips on them when he's holding her up, and she falls and like breaks her knee or whatever. So that means that there's an opening for Crystal's understudy, and you want to be Crystal's understudy because that's just one step away from being the lead in the show, right?
Yep.
So everybody wants that. So so Nomi tries out. Well, first she sleeps with Zach. I forget why she decided to sleep with Zach all of a sudden. I think it's to get back at Crystal in some way. She's like,
and she liked him too.
Yeah. So like they have this like romantic night together. They have sex in the pool very aggressively. Nomi almost appears to drown. It's very violent. It's interesting. And pool sex is not even good. Like that seemed like the worst sex in the world. Like, I'm sorry. What? And like, did his dick fall off? Like, inquiring minds want to know. So then he tells her as she's leaving the next morning, Crystal needs a new understudy. Like, why don't you try out? The audition's at noon. So Nomi shows up, and Crystal like knows they had sex, and she's like pissed. So she doesn't want Nomi to be her understudy, but Zach's like, she's great. And so I guess he's like into her for real, but who knows? I can't tell with him. He's got too much bronzer on. So who's to say who he really is? So basically they decide not to give Nomi the part, and she's fucking pissed. So that night, like at the show, she's doing this like bondage number with Crystal. It's also very aggressive. And then they're going down this huge staircase, and Nomi shoves Crystal, and she falls and breaks her something. Her hip. Like an old lady.
Yeah, that's a bad injury to have.
Now they don't know what to do because Crystal technically doesn't have an understudy. They only have Nomi, who knows all the choreography, I guess. And so they take a chance, and they put Nomi in the show. She has a great debut. She's like living life. They've already got her on all the posters and all the promotional and like blah, 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 blah. They throw her a big party. Molly's a little like suspicious of her now because she knows that she pushed Crystal down the stairs. So she didn't think Nomi would do something like that. Zach throws this big party for Nomi to celebrate her opening. Who should come to this party but Andrew Carver, who Molly and Nomi have been talking about the entire movie. And there's like these posters of this like grizzly man with long hair, and he looks like someone.
Kind of looks like Jason Momoa, current actor. I mean, is he supposed to be like a Michael Bolton, like sort of character, maybe?
Or like a rock star? Or like, what is his deal?
He's just like a solo.
Maybe he's a magician. No.
Right. I don't even know, but he looks like he's just like a solo singer. I don't know what kind of music he sings and why Molly would love it so much.
I don't know why Molly is excited by him. It's
really
very bizarre. So that's how she gets Molly to come to the party. She's like, Andrew Carver's going to be there. Let me make it up to you. So she introduces Molly to Andrew Carver, and then Molly goes off with Andrew Carver, and then he and his buddies decide to gang rape Molly, and it's like very violent. Molly comes like stumbling into the party all bloody and like bruised up in the face. Nomi's pissed. Zach's like, we can't do anything because Andrew Carver could be a headliner at the Stardust, so we can't do anything about it. And it's like, okay, all right, okay, whatever. But Molly's in like a fucking coma and like nice. So then they find out truth about Nomi's identity, which is that she was like busted for like all this like prostitution, and like every state she's been in had like a crack cocaine addiction.
But why did she care? Why did they care? She care that
Because
they
you're
knew?
not supposed to have like committed a crime. Because remember when she was like filling out the forms and stuff, it was like I think they ask if you have a record or whatever.
So that's why she was like, screw it.
But it seemed like they didn't care because he was like, you're going to make us a lot of money. You're going to do great at this show. So she didn't want to be their whore because she was understanding that all these things that Crystal told her, like, we're all somebody's whore. Like, we take off our clothes, we take the money, we cash the check. So she realized, I guess, in that moment that like she was a whore. So she's like, I'm not here for this. So she quits. But not before she gets her revenge on Andrew Carver. So she like sets up a little date with him and then paints her nipples red. I still don't know why. I'm very confused about that.
Do you know lipstick? That Benefit, the makeup company?
Yeah.
Their first product was like a lip stain, that like red lip stain that they're famous for. It comes like a little thing. That was their first product. But they went into business because the strippers used it to make their nipples like flushed. So I guess that's like a thing.
But not like bright red. Like I would be like, do you have a disease?
I mean,
like
she looked like she was like boobs the clown. What? She was boobs the clown. Like
it was like bright
red. Bright red.
It seemed like something was wrong. And I was like, does she have a rash? Like, I'm concerned. It was so strange. So then she beats the shit out of him in her like giant hooker boots and then is on her way. She tells Molly, I beat the shit out of him, like says goodbye to her, says goodbye to Crystal. They have this like nice exchange where Crystal's like, I started like you, like I had to push somebody to get ahead and like you did what I told you to do. And so that's great.
And then like cries. They make out. She cries and gives her a cowboy hat. And then she leaves.
And again, like, were they friends? No. Like, I'm still, you're right. Their relationship is confusing. So Nomi's on her way. She's hitchhiking again. Who should pick her up? But that same fucker in the beginning who looks like Elvis. And she's like, I want my suitcase back with like her switchblade. And then they drive off to Los Angeles to the next chapter of Nomi's life where she'll do the same thing.
New strip clubs.
So that's the plot. It's not, I would say it's not meandering. It's just random. Like, there's just like not a lot of clear motivation here.
Well, I mean, I think you can see like where the strengths of the movie lie. Like, honestly, they should have done more with the most interesting parts are definitely the two women leads. So Elizabeth Berkley and the Gina Gershon character.
Right.
Their relationship was like pretty interesting and fun to watch. And I think that was like great. For me, there was no point in like the Molly rape scene at all. I don't know what that was supposed to be or why. And I don't get her relationship with that dude James. Yeah, and why he was involved in it all. So I feel like they just should have centered and focused on some stuff, and I don't know why these other little side plots were in there. Yeah. I mean, again, the dancing was pretty fun to watch. All the strip scenes were really, even the strip club ones were like pretty well done and just seemed like, you know, I mean, they seem legit.
I love the goddess scenes.
Yeah, I love the goddess scenes are my favorite. And the funny thing is like you see bits of the show as the movie goes on. So first you just see like this beginning scene, which you see a couple times, like which is basically like boobs before BC. Let's call it boobs BC. It's basically like cavemen. It's like a caveman kind of
beautiful golden wigs,
and they have beautiful golden wings. But like the star, Crystal Connors comes out of a volcano, so it's kind of like a caveman kind of a thing. And then the next one you see is the dominatrix or the white one?
The like mirror ball.
Yeah.
Not the mirror ball. But
mirror
the,
ball, disco, what'd you say?
The disco. Well, no, not the one where they have the red wigs with like the glass. The boat. Oh, okay. The one that they wear at the boat show.
Yeah. So they all have wigs on. So that first one is everyone has blonde wigs. This one, they all have different colored wigs. And it's like mirrored little costumes.
Glass.
Yeah, glass.
I don't know.
And then the next one is like a disco, kind of glittery, very soft, almost like a waltz kind of a thing. And then the last one is like a dominatrix. They have these outfits where their boobs are like just in holes out of the harness of their dominatrix costumes. They're all in these black wigs. It's like very scary.
And the women are just like grinding with each other on the stage.
Right.
Is the dance.
And you're like, oh my God, this is the same show? Like, wild.
Which goddess is this?
Yeah. So,
like,
but that was really fun to see, and all the different like layers of that show are pretty like fun, and you're just like, wow. There's motorcycles on stage.
It's wild.
Crystal comes down and like almost a noose kind of hanging.
One of those like
something.
those garage hook things.
Yeah.
I mean, creative ways to get her in and out of the stage, the lead, but the dancing is, I think, leaves little to be desired. It's just, it seems like all the same stuff.
Definitely.
Like it's the same move, just like 5 different ways.
Yeah, it's just so intense and trying to be edgy.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for.
No offense, gay, but it wasn't great.
It's just trying to be really edgy. And, but everyone, like Gina Gershon seemed like a really great dancer too. Like she's dance background. She went to like Tisch School of the Arts, NYU, and had done dancing, I think, her whole life. And Elizabeth Berkley too, like I said. Like it's in that sense, she did like a really good job. Her acting. Something to be desired there.
Yeah. But so my earliest memory of this movie is, like I said, the censorship. So the way that they censored this movie on television is funny because there's so much boobs in it. So at a certain point, you can't cut out all the scenes that have nudity in it, because then you wouldn't have a movie, because there's literally just like tits on the screen at like all times of this movie. So what they do is they insert digital clothing
oh my God.
on the bodies, so that at sometimes you don't even notice it.
Why
so
even show it?
The part where the end where she goes to Andrew Carver's, and I remember that's like when I figured it out, because I was like, why are these leopard spots moving? And then I was like, oh my God, it's not even a real shirt. Like she's been naked this whole time. So then I'd like go back and watch it and be like, oh my God, they're naked in all of these scenes, and I didn't notice because there was a digital like t-shirt on them. It's so funny. But that is just hilarious. But yeah, they definitely take out like all the, I don't even remember like any of the lesbian stuff when I saw this on TV. Like I'm pretty sure they like take that out, even though that's not like terribly graphic. It's just them making out. But like I honestly, maybe I just didn't watch it that far to get there or something. I don't know. The rape scene obviously is not in the TV version whatsoever. I'm pretty sure you just see the 2 guys enter and close the door, and then Molly looking scared, and then you see her stumble into the party like all bloody and bruised.
I mean, honestly, they could have done that. I don't know why
they didn't need to show it. It's like, why are we showing
so
this terrible graphic thing?
Again, like, I mean, okay, I take it back. I understand why they do that, because they needed like an event to make her be like so crazy and show like how like loyal she was to that friend, and how she was basically just gonna be like done with this whole industry, because they weren't gonna prosecute those guys. I mean, what didn't make sense is like they were at the party. I'm assuming they were still all in that room, and she comes stumbling out completely beat up and blood streaming down her legs. I mean, guilty.
And
Hello.
nobody's like, whoa,
Yeah, no
what's
one's like,
that?
whoa.
There's no whistleblower here?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you would have had 25 witnesses. I mean, that's just, I don't know. Like,
it was strange.
So yeah, crazy. Here's a note I had. Wow, bald eagles. So, I mean, I'm assuming that, I don't know a lot about strippers, but I guess they just literally take it all off in more ways than one.
Yeah, I mean, this was the mid 90s when like bushes were done.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
And so, stripper. I'm trying to think of other stripper movies I've seen.
Striptease.
I've never seen Striptease. I've seen little bits of it.
Flashdance.
Yes. Okay. So I've seen Flashdance, but even in like most strip movies, I feel like you don't see them fully naked doing.
Remember
stuff?
in Flashdance, her friend was fully naked with like just like in front of guys with their legs, and you're like, whoa! And that's when she like pulled her off.
No, she had
the
a
thing.
thong.
I thought she was.
No, they always wear thongs. The thing with strippers is
I
that
think some
stripping
strip
is
clubs-
about titties, right? Stripping is about
but
boobs.
some of like the really dirty ones are just like Penthouse is really like graphic, and so I think some strip clubs are
right.
graphic.
But I think like stripping is not about, it's about sex, but they're not actually prostitutes. It's not about having sex with them. It's about looking. And it's about them like touching you, and really, right? Because even when like she does the lap dance,
you can touch them,
yes,
they
exactly,
can't touch you.
Exactly. So it's never about like actual sex. It's always about like kind of like the other stuff. So that's what made this movie so jarring, in the sense that like you really saw, I think for me, for the first time in movies, other than porn. Okay, so this is what like porn is all about. Bottoms. But regular movies, like you really don't see that. And she was like doing like leg kicks and I don't think you never saw it spread, let's say, but like
I feel like I saw a labia.
It was. Oh, you did. Okay.
Maybe.
I never saw a labia, but like it
feel
was,
like she was
the most of like an
always-
actual theatrical film that
Most
would have been
crotch.
like released. Yeah,
most
crotch
crotch
I've ever seen
in
like,
a
by far.
in a regular movie.
And like totally bald. So she like it's the strip, the lap dance she does for Kyle
I
MacLachlan.
thought there was like
in
a
the
little
background.
landing strip. No,
No,
her
that was
hair's
bald
very
eagle.
blonde, so like you can't really
No.
see
That
it.
was- she's not a natural blonde, please.
Well,
Please.
well,
Dye job.
yeah, that's funny. Bald eagles.
Bald eagle
I thought you
sighting.
meant like bald men. I was
Let's
like,
talk about
interesting.
bald eagles.
So everyone's favorite part of or like one of the favorite parts of this is when Nomi makes $500 doing this lap dance, you know, and she spends her money immediately all on a dress, a Versace dress. So she's like, sees this, and it's always like, I hate like in movies when like, oh, I would kill for that
Right.
dress, and it's just like a black
Terrible.
dress.
Yeah.
It's just so boring.
And
But-
it didn't look good on her. It was way too short for how tall
That
she
was the
was.
style.
I mean, I get mini dresses, but like hers needed to be a little. It just did not fit her that great because she's a tall woman.
She said it would
She's
look
tall.
great on her.
It didn't look that great.
Well, yeah, but she's excited about it, and then she's like going around, and people are like, "Great dress," and she goes, "Thanks, it's a Versace," and like, it's so funny. Like this, is like the one like legitimately funny joke. Like
I feel like
actual
Versace
joke.
dresses are more than that.
More than $500.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like what's his face took some of her money anyways from that
Yeah,
lap.
he took two.
$200. So wasn't it $300?
Yeah,
Or like what I don't know.
I think it'd be more money. than that.
But yeah, that part people get a kick out of that, and that's like a constant joke to call something a Versace.
Versace.
It's good one. Yeah, the others. Yeah, so the two scenes I remembered was the lap dance scene, which they cut they cut the end part of that scene. Like I think they just show her giving him a lap dance with like digital clothes or whatever, and then they don't show like the end climax. But I
Wow, this
still
must have
remembered
blown
it.
your mind. Have you ever seen it with not on TV?
Yes, but
Oh, okay.
that time that I saw it on TV, I was like, "What the fuck is happening?"
Yeah.
And then the pool sex scene, I think they cut a little bit. I mean, a lot about like the end part when she's thrashing in the waterfall, but it's such a strange. So like she comes over right to Zach's house, and he pours champagne, and then she's like, "Great, thanks." Like takes the champagne. Maybe takes a sip, then like takes all her clothes off immediately, goes into the pool, he follows, he pours champagne on her breast, and he like licks it off, and then they just have sex immediately. Like it's very okay. Sure. It's pretty wild.
And
it's a wild
again,
scene.
like it's not that hot. Like the thrashing around.
You're
thing,
like,
I don't
what?
know
You're like,
what
ow.
what
It seems painful.
direction that was. That like you think that's like the hottest sex scene to be like thrashing around. Like I said, like just some sort of dead fish. I don't know. It's like that's and like. Does anybody do that? I mean, that's just, it was just out of control. And I mean, I don't know, it's supposed to show how outrageous she was. I mean, like, was she having a good time? I'm not sure.
Did she have an orgasm?
Yeah.
We don't
I'm
know.
not sure, honestly. I mean, I think she was being nearly drowned from the waterfall. So, like, who knows? It was like water torture.
She's a very passionate person. She just really feels these orgasms. Just like
Yes, but,
quaking
like,
her
you
body.
don't need to be that physical, like, it's, I don't know.
It's interesting.
Whatever, Nomi. Okay, so this is the highest grossing NC-17 movie of all time.
Wow.
Good for it. I mean, didn't do that great, but just in terms of NC-17 movies.
Yeah.
Hard to get people to come see, you know?
What's another NC-17 movie?
Good question.
Kids. That's all. That's the only one I know.
Oh, good one.
Just
good
because I
one.
know Dad.
That's
and I,
another one that was like, that I feel like shaped our childhood. I thought, okay, when she was going to go attack the singer who raped her friend, I did a sweetie thing where I like made up a scene in my mind. I'm like, I'm pretty sure this is what's going to happen. Because she was getting her fingernails already. And I swear to God, I heard some rumor that she like stabbed him in the eyeball with a fingernail. And I'm like getting ready for the scene. I'm like, when's this happening? When's this happening? She's going to stab him in the eye with her fake fingernail. Because they do talk a lot about nails in this.
Oh God,
it's
yeah.
like a big theme.
Obsessed.
And
No,
so I'm
yeah,
like,
that's
okay,
not
this
what
makes
happens.
total sense as I'm watching the movie. There's nails this, nails that. I'm like, she's going to use them as deadly weapons. And then she pulls out her switchblade. I'm like, what?
And she didn't even use it. She just beats him up
with her stiletto
with her
boots. I know.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. I just
Interesting.
was, I don't know. Maybe I'd heard a rumor and again,
I guess.
wasn't wasn't true. So here's a couple of people who auditioned for this movie and didn't get it. J-Lo, she had worst audition process ever. Good thing she didn't get it. Not for the main role, I'm assuming, just like for one of the other people. But would she have been topless? J-Lo.
Why was it the worst audition?
Just because it was just such a bad movie, I guess, and like she just knew it was like a bad situation. And I guess Charlize Theron got pretty close to getting the Elizabeth Berkley role, but did not get it. And then for the other role, they wanted like Sharon Stone. I'm sure tapping is like Basic Instinct connection.
Open Snatch.
Yeah. I guess Drew Barrymore was
wow.
picked for the Elizabeth Berkley one at one point. I mean,
it's interesting. And like, if Drew Barrymore did get it, like, would Elizabeth Berkley have had a better career? I don't know.
I just don't think she's a good actress.
Wonder what happened.
I think she's blaming it on this movie, but I think this movie showed that she just like wasn't a great actress. I don't know.
I mean, it's a weird movie. It's like I still think it's a bad movie. Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, there's no motivation for like any of the characters. I don't know. And like the Elizabeth Berkley's lines are just so fucking weird. Like, someone could be like, "Hi, what's your name?" And she's like, "Fuck off."
Yeah. I don't think they should have made her that off-putting. Again, like, I want to say that that's like a sexist thing to be like, well, like, she wasn't a likable female, so we can't like her. But you can have like hard edges, but I feel still be a likable character and like want to root for them. And I just don't feel like she just had that. Like, I don't know what the screen test was that would make them. Again, was it just like, okay, I will do striptease with no pants on? Then like,
I don't know, but we don't know anything about her. So I think it just like does a disservice to your audience because we have no way of forming a relationship with Nomi.
And I feel like
the way she's like this because X trauma.
But I feel like they should have used that Molly character as a way to bring that out in her.
Right. But they don't.
Instead, they just use it as like
just gloss over it.
Well, they use the Molly character as like the only person who's kind of sane in this crazy Las Vegas world, right? She's the only person who's with any empathy and who just seems to like have a good head on her shoulders, let's say. Which, okay, that's like a lot to say. Vegas is crazy. Like, you have to be kind of crazy to live there and work there and whatever. Like, we get it. But there has to be some decent people, and it feels like that's just the Molly character. And so they should have used that as a way for Nomi to be like, okay, this is how I'm going to like share my pain and trauma and whatever with her, and then flush it out. But they didn't take the time to do that.
No.
Clearly they were too interested in the titties.
Yep.
And then also this movie was banned in Ireland for like 15 years. Funny.
Wow.
Talk about banning books.
Cool.
You know, you can ban movies as well. Hope you Irish people have seen it. Now you should. And then this has the award for the all-time number of Razzies. So at 13.
I have heard that, yep.
So Razzies, you know, the awards for the worst movies. And usually, so the guy who the director of this got worst director and like worst screenplay or whatever he was involved in. And usually, obviously, they don't show up. And
sometimes
he made a point
the good sports
to show up and accept his award.
Did Elizabeth Berkley show up?
No, I'm sure she was.
I remember. Remember Sandra Bullock won for All About Steve, and it was the same year she won an Oscar for The Blind Side. So it was like,
what was All About Steve?
The one with what's his face, Bradley Cooper, and like she's like stalking him or something.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like really weird. I don't know. I don't really get what it's about.
Well, as an actor or actress, and goes Elizabeth Berkley. You have your good ones and your misses. It's not like everyone does amazing films all the time. You gotta pay the bills, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like this was supposed to be her very like, okay, like she's doing all this nudity, all this dancing, all this stuff. I mean, she was like, the sex scenes were crazy. I cannot imagine filming some of those. I mean, I just cannot. I can't imagine going to work and being like, have that much, I don't know, passion for this project, which was clearly terrible. You know, I believe she, like, I did believe her in that character. I just didn't like her.
Yeah, she's just a maniac, and it just didn't make any sense.
Right. I just don't know.
I
if
still
people
don't get it. Like,
for a maniac.
so, like, her backstory is her dad killed her mom, and then shot himself, and then she was in foster homes, like ran away and was a hooker, and then like assault with a deadly weapon, her switchblade probably, and like, but that's all we know. We don't have like any like, oh, I don't know. It's
Hooker with a heart of gold. I mean, I'd watch that, but she just didn't have a heart of gold. You know?
Yeah, she did not have a heart of
It's
gold.
like Manic Pretty Woman. I mean, that's basically like what this movie is. And like, what if Julia Roberts was? I mean, the why Pretty Woman worked because she was doing like a not great job, but she was a really nice, charismatic, like lovely person, and that's why you're like, oh my god, like you deserve the best. Yeah. This, you're like, I don't care what happens to you, like you're a mess. Yeah. So
get some help.
Yeah, not. I mean, again, I think they were just going for the edgy. They weren't making a rom-com. You're talking about two different kind of movies here, but I don't know what they were trying to make.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
But good one. I'm glad I've finally seen this. You know, I feel like my life is like, has come to
you can get the jokes.
Yeah, like a good point. And I can get the jokes, and I'm in on them.
All right.
I'm in on it.
All right, success. Did you cry? Just kidding.
I did not cry.
Movies we didn't cry at. It's a miracle. Just kidding. But yeah, have you seen Showgirls? Have you not seen Showgirls? Why or why not? Come find us. Tell us about it on Twitter at The Sweetie Club or on Instagram at Large Marge Sent Us. Thank you, as always, for listening. Bye.
Bye. Actual rape artist in this. Not even gonna lie. Bye.